Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this age of globalization needs enlightened people in each phase who can examine their sacred writings and traditions and identify the aspects that can benefit all humanity, as well as those that preserve each religion's identity. Benefit all humanity. Preserve each religion's identity. I'm Peter Haider, President of the Universal Peace Federation here in Austria, and supported by UNODC, who is represented through Mr. Le Mahieu, UPF, in cooperation with UNCAV, the Coalition of Faith-Based Organizations, Youth and Students for Peace, and the Women's Federation for World Peace, has the honor to organize this conference today, commemorating the World Interfaith Harmony Week. The World Interfaith Harmony Week was first proposed at the UN General Assembly on September 23, 2010 by His Majesty King Abdullah II of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Just under a month later, it was unanimously adopted by the UN, and since this time, the first week of February is observed as a World Interfaith Harmony Week. Our organization, UPF, and its network of ambassadors for peace celebrate this week in a way that encourages understanding, respect, cooperation among people of all faiths for the well-being of our communities and peace in the world. UPF organized annually conferences here in the UN in Vienna since 2013, with the exception of the last 2 years because of COVID. Our theme today is why religions and cultures in dialogue matter for achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I was inspired to use this title after listening to a discussion on a similar topic in the framework of the European Parliament. So they are also, believe it or not, interested in such topics. So do religion and culture really matter? Why is dialogue important? Are religion and cultures relevant for achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals? In a time of war in Europe, in a global climate crisis, these are our questions for today. We will have 2 sessions, and I hand over for the first session to Dr. Afsar Atta. He is a person who worked many years, I think 30 years, for the UN, first in the field, in the countries where the biggest crisis happened, and later in Vienna. He dealt with many projects, but now he dedicates his life in cooperation with us and many other organizations to the ideals of the UN, which is basically world peace, and also he's very much working for inter-religious dialogue. Dr. Rato.
Thank you very much, Peter. Excellencies, distinguished guests, scholars, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you, as Peter mentioned, all of the your host to today's conference on why religion and culture in dialogue matter for achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goal. I worked 30 years for the UN, as Peter mentioned, and I have seen that we have a lot of problem when we have ignored that very significant topic. And this topic is today's in our world is very significant when we notice with great sorrow and regret that the world is again moving toward nationalism and race supremacy. Hence, religion and culture in dialogue can play an important role for achieving peace and the UN sustainable goals, because they can provide a framework and platform for addressing key issues related to sustainable development, such as poverty, inequality, environmental degradation, and gender equality. For example, many religious and cultural traditions promote values such as compassion, generosity, care, and protection of environment. This support efforts to promote economic and social well-being for all. Additionally, religious and cultural leaders and institutions act as powerful advocates for sustainable development, raising awareness and inspiring action at local, national, and global level. Therefore, engaging religious and culture in dialogue can help to build a more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable world for all us. I can give you an example. During the Ebola outbreak in 2014-15 in West Africa, national governments and the international actors were slow in recognizing the significance of religious actors in addressing the outbreak. A report by Christians and Muslim organizations highlights that the religious leaders were able to change message of fear based on mere biomedical information from international agency into a message of hope and compassion that matched technical and religious perspective. Due to the trust people have in imams and priests in the region, community were ready to sacrifice some practices related to burial, such as body washing, etc. Similarly, in several Islamic countries, I have noticed the religious leader could persuade their followers to take polio drops. Unfortunately, the connection between development actors and religious leader was not as straightforward and as fast as it could have been. More life could have been saved if the stakeholder would have understood the importance of religion and used this very effective tool in achieving their developmental goal. However, it is changing now, and we have realized that over 85% of the world population have affiliated to a faith or has a religion. And the international and local institutions are also increasingly acknowledging the importance of religion in their work. The Department of International Development, DFID, UNFPA, UNICEF, UNDP, to name a few, established their partnership guidelines with faith community. But the question is, again, as Peter asked, how to engage with religion remain unclear to stakeholder. I believe we can play a vital role, and active participation is now required more than ever before. And such conferences and interventions are the right way forward to build bridges of awareness, advocacy, understanding, and cooperation, which could bring a change to the mindset. We will now invite today's honorable speakers who will benefit and enlighten us with their wisdom, expertise, knowledge, and experience, and guide us to the right direction. I would like to request to the speaker, since the time is short, each speaker would have only 10 minutes maximum, please. So our first speaker is today our old good friend from UN, Mr. Jean-Luc Lemieux, is from Belgium and has been working for past 30 years for several United Nations organizations, including UNIDO, UNDP, and currently working as the director for the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC. Mr. Lemieux has extensive and in-depth field experience serving in various countries, including Republic of Korea, Afghanistan, Myanmar, and Caribbean region. He has a postgraduate degree in international law. Mr. Lemieux, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor and the opportunity to address you here today on behalf of UNODC. Ambassadors, esteemed colleagues, dear friends, it's a pleasure to share a few remarks with you here today on the occasion of the World Interfaith Harmony Week. I would like to thank the Universal Peace Federation, Peter, the United Nations Correspondents Association in Vienna, the Coalition of Faith-Based Organizations, Youth and Students for Peace, and the Women's Federation for World Peace for organizing this event and bringing us here together. And it's a pleasure to see each other here together after 2 years of webinars and online meetings. Nothing goes as much and as well as seeing each other live in the same room. The topic here today is extremely important: why religions and cultures in dialogue matter for achieving the UN SDGs. We all know that we do face multiple crises, and the previous speaker already laid this out. It's more than important then to remind ourselves that religious and cultural diversity are an integral part of our global society. Through dialogue, which is so rare today, understanding, mutual respect, we can work towards a more peaceful and inclusive world. This, in turn, is critical for the successful implementation of, indeed, these Sustainable Development Goals. At UNODC, we believe that promoting respect for different cultures and religions is a key to achieving our mission to make the world safer from drugs, organized crime, corruption, and terrorism. UNODC is a member of the UN Task Force on Religion and Sustainable Development and has expanded its collaboration with faith-based organizations also at the local and the regional levels. To give you an example, in 2021, UNODC partnered with UNDP and with many faith-based organizations to tackle the root causes of violent extremism in some parts of Indonesia. In close cooperation with organizations such as yours, civil society and local governments, the project focused on capacity building, advocacy, as well as online and offline awareness to prevent violent extremism. At a time where the world is at a tipping point, when the old is known, but what is to come is not evident, uncertainty is rampant. The tectonic plates of geopolitics are shifting, and the international values of yesterday are being questioned. While our eyes are focused on a conflict in Europe, something which we had assumed not any longer feasible in this part of the world, we lose traction on the urgent needs in other parts of the globe. Think Central America, think the Sahel, Haiti, Syria, Afghanistan, only to name a few. The African continent, with its enormous youth potential, witnesses simultaneously economic contraction, and this is to result in escapism. Escapism by feet, through migration. Escapism towards organized crime and extremism, in case the authorities fail to deliver the basic needs. Escapism through drug use to cope with stress and mental health problems. It is now already obvious that the international community will not be able to achieve the ambitious Sustainable Development Goals we had set out. Now, in this dire context, there is need for a message of hope and positivism. Interfaith and cultural cooperation can play a significant role in exactly providing that and in reducing the vulnerability of individuals, including, as concerns UNODC, on drug abuse, organized crime, and corruption. We need to accelerate our joint work based on Sustainable Development Goal 10, which aims to reduce inequality by explicitly calling on states to, and I quote, empower and promote the social, economic, and political inclusion of all, irrespective of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic status, unquote. Freedom of religion and belief is also relevant to a wide range of other Sustainable Development Goal targets, including those related to health, education, gender equality, access to justice, and climate action. No doubt you will hear more about that through the panel later on. Allow me now to focus a bit on what we stand for in UNODC, and I start to put a lens on the drug issues. Currently, there is near no country which does not witness both production increases and the increase in drug use. Poverty, rising inequality, mental health conditions, particularly among already vulnerable populations, continue to represent risk factors. About 11 million people inject drugs worldwide, putting them at greater risk of living with HIV and hepatitis C, and deaths associated with drug use continue to rise. Faith-based organizations can play an important role in supporting member states in their efforts to reduce drug demand. Don't forget, in countries where I have worked, the drug addiction problem, such as in Afghanistan, which has the highest incidence of addiction in the world, ranges somewhat on the number 7 priority among the top 10 of those given to the Ministry of Public Health. Tuberculosis, you just name it, all that comes first, but addiction very, very low. And the public funding is not even enough to deal with the first 3. We need to have civil society, faith-based organizations getting involved in providing treatment and prevention to the youngsters. A second topic which I would like to table, access to justice for all. Sustainable Development Goal 16 aims to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, providing access to justice for all, build effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels, be they national, regional or local. The 12 targets there include reduction of violence, illicit financial and arms flow reduction, dealing with corruption, the promotion of the rule of law, development of effective, accountable and transparent institutions, and promotion of non-discriminatory laws and policies. If there's one thread going to all the issues of criminality and even extremism, it is corruption. We need to have your support to deal and to make sure that we can tackle that scourge more efficiently. The last point which I would like to mention here is human trafficking. We all know that this affects millions of people around the world. Our global report on trafficking in persons I assume, some people getting rather excited about my speech, but our global report on trafficking in persons was released just last week here in this room, and it highlights that human trafficking is a global phenomenon affecting people from all walks of life, including women, children and men. But one of the findings of this latest report is that war and conflict evidently augments the number of victims of trafficking exploited within and outside of the crisis areas. I assume that somebody eventually connected has it not on mute. Could we make sure that everybody has connected by internet, has the speakers on mute? Thank you very much for this. Now, the report was somewhat stunning and somewhat unexpected. We never had thought that it would indicate a reduction of victims of human trafficking, at least those which we have witnessed in the judicial processes. There's an explanation for that. First of all, we just came out of the pandemic, and during the pandemic, we knew that many of the borders were closed. Secondly, as well, when you have the pandemic, there are so many different priorities on a government that eventually the attention was not being given to the human trafficking and the victims. And thirdly, the traffickers are getting smarter and smarter, and we're using, more invisible places to hide those being trafficked. So instead of this being a positive news, it's essentially a call for us to wake up again and make sure that we have our eyes wide open when it comes to the human trafficking problematics. I will leave it up to those three. In conclusion, let me just say that we remain as a UNODC very committed to supporting initiatives such as the one here today, bring together people from different cultures, from different religious backgrounds, to promote harmony, tolerance and understanding, and to give that message of hope and positivism which this world really required. I trust that this Interfaith Harmony Week offers an opportunity for all of us not only to come together, but to reflect on the importance and how we can contribute better as a humanity, towards the sustainable development goals, alleviating the pain and the suffering given to those who can ill afford it. By joining our impact at the ground levels, we can contribute tangible to the shared goals of promoting human rights, social justice, and sustainable development to all. Thank you for your kind attention, and I do wish you a fruitful consultation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Luc Lemieux. Our next speaker is His Excellency Dr. Hatem Abu Al-Fayal, is the ambassador of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan to the Republic of Austria and permanent representative to the international organization in Vienna. As a career diplomat, Dr. Abu Al-Fayal served in Iraq, UAE, Yemen, Germany, and Indonesia. Ambassador possessed a PhD degree in political science, political systems, and a postgraduate degree in diplomacy. For his unprecedented professional recognition, he was awarded the Grand Cordon of the Order of Al-Istiqlal, Independence, and the Cross of the Order of Merit of Germany Knight, Verdienstkreuz am Bande des Verdienstorden der Bundesrepublik Deutschland. Mr. Ambassador, you are requested, please.
Well, Mr. Peter Haid, President of Universal Peace Federation, Austria. Well, at the outset, allow me to express my sincere appreciation for your kind invitation to address this important conference. I'm truly honored to be part of this worthy cause today and to have been given this opportunity to address this distinguished gathering. I wish also to thank distinguished speakers, audience, and everyone helped in organizing this event. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to mark the World Interfaith Harmony Week. This occasion is very dear to our hearts in Jordan, a country that have long upheld religious mutual respect and introduced a number of initiatives that aim at inspiring positive exchange worldwide for promoting understanding of the values of peace inherent in all religions. As you all know, the World Interfaith Harmony Week was first proposed by His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan at the United Nations General Assembly in September 2010. Just a month later, on 20 October 2010, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution proclaiming the first week of February of every year the World Interfaith Harmony Week between all religions, faiths, and beliefs, aiming at encouraging us to gather our forces to promote a culture of peace. Indeed, in today's world, we are in urgent need for promoting harmony between all people, regardless of their faith, and upholding positive values worldwide. We all believe that the common values are enriched in all religions, faiths, and beliefs. It is the duty of everyone to defend those values, to promote understanding, and to help contribute to make our world a better and safer place. Distinguished guests, please allow me to quote His Majesty King Abdullah II in his acceptance speech at the ceremony for the 2018 Templeton Prize, and here I start quoting. The great commandments to love God and love one neighbor are found again and again in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and other faiths around the world. It is a profound message calling every one of us to struggle to look beyond ourselves. And this outward insight is the source and hope of all coexistence. End of quote. Indeed, the profound message in different religions and faith drives us to maximize the good in our world and to be the best we can be. It encourages us to love and support one another and drives us to join our forces to seek peace and harmony for a better future for the next generation. Today, we live in an interconnected world, an increasingly interlocked world. Alarm bells are ringing. The world faces numerous challenges: COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, energy crisis, food insecurity, poverty and despair, occupation and injustice, extremist violence, and so many other alarming challenges. This fact has made us realize the importance of thinking about what can be done, not only from the standpoint of individual responsibility, but from the standpoint of societal and international responsibility as well. Our collective awareness of our common destiny has increased over time, and our feeling has been strengthened that we must all join hands in order to escape from this ordeal with the least amount of suffering. Joint and holistic action at the international level is urgently needed to address and tackle these global challenges. Harnessing political, economic, and state-of-the-art technological tools is needed to allow us countering these global challenges that abuse our world. However, these tools cannot alone shape a better future for all of us and save our planet. What is more important here is how we, as humans, can use these tools to make a difference. How we, as humans, can learn from each other. How we can embrace values of mutual respect and common humanity while resisting hatred and exclusion. How can we combine our strength to common benefit in order to renew hope for millions and millions of young people around the world? Distinguished guests, today we focus our attention on why religions and cultures in dialogue matter for achieving UN Sustainable Development Goals. Well, we all recognize the fact that encouraging far-reaching dialogues of mutual respect is of immense importance to enable world's people know each other and to act on the positive values we all share. Harmony is clearly a condition for civilizational growth, which has become an urgent necessity for nations to create their future and to get out of the problems they face and preoccupy them from advancement and progress. The Sustainable Development Goals aim at transforming our world to a world with expanded horizons and exciting more opportunities. This is indeed a timely call for action to address a number of global challenges to achieve noble goals. I do believe that we all realize the simple fact that if we have to achieve these goals, if we have to achieve these noble goals, we have to rely on our faith in God, on our in our common humanity, and our joint will to work hard together and combine the strength of people who seek peace and harmony to our common benefit. Distinguished guests, it is an unfortunate fact that the land holy to the three faiths in the Middle East region is a place of conflict rather than a place of peace and love for others. The Middle East region deserves security, peace, and stability that has been denied for decades. Crises in our region have been going on for far too long, causing far too much destruction and pain, too many missed opportunities. The Palestinian cause is key to peace and stability in the region and beyond. My country, Jordan, and many other nations strongly believe that the two-state solution that is based on in international law is the only way forward to achieve a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace for all our peoples in the region. Furthermore, millions of refugees scattered all over our region and abroad with no hope and no future. It is high time for all of us to work on drying up sources of conflicts and deal with the environments of despair, lawlessness, and injustice that we see widespread in so many places, either in my region or in the world. Distinguished guests, the World Interfaith Harmony Week has become a platform to combine our resources in order to spread messages of tolerance across borders and continents. This week has become a driving force where new relationships are formed, old misperceptions are done with, new understandings emerge, and social action undertaken to improve multicultural policy with the aim of maintaining the unique mosaic of all our societies. Harmony, tolerance, compassion, and equality of all human beings are values that draw our path to coexistence. It paves a way for collective action and positive interaction, so nations can combine their resources and efforts to help produce a different world, a just, equitable, and prosperous world that allows all people to thrive. At the end of my speech, please allow me to quote again from His Majesty King Abdullah II speech at the UN General Assembly last September. I start quoting. "We can weather the most serious crises if we join together. Do let us, here in the General Assembly, honor our shared interest in a brighter future, a future of dignity and hope that brings new opportunities for all peoples. And let us not ignore the alarm bells ringing around us. We must act." Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your intervention. Our next speaker is Her Excellency Ambassador Eglantina Germani. She is the Ambassador of Albania to International Organization in Vienna. She is a former minister and member of Parliament of the Socialist Party in Albania. She has a PhD degree in social work. She taught at the University of Tirana in the Department of Social Affairs. For a decade, she led the Gender Alliance for Development Center in Albania. She chaired the Albanian Parliament Subcommittee on Gender Equality and Prevention of Violence Against Women, a real fighter for women's rights. Mrs. Ambassador. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your very kind words. Dear colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful to you and the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak on this topic, which is both timely and relevant of today. I thank you for choosing to spend Friday afternoon together, and I will have the pleasure to share experiences from my country, Albania, as well as some personal insights. Freedom of religion is a prerequisite for the social and economic development of a country. It allows us to think, express, and act on what we believe. This is also a multifaceted issue that is closely related to, among others, the protection of human rights, social cohesion, and comprehensive security in the broader sense of the word. Religion is often a powerful linkage for societies and cultures. Peace and reconciliation are key religious terms for our times, although we have regretfully seen how religious can also be instrumentalized to fan the flames of conflict for nefarious goals. Turning to my country, Albania, for centuries has been a shining example of religious harmony in Europe. While there have been religious wars in many countries, Albania has never witnessed such wars, persecutions, or conflicts based on religions. Historical studies and researches have shown that religious harmony among Albanians is not a myth, nor is it artificial or random phenomenon, but it is rather the result of historical developments that have taken place in the territories inhabited by the Albanians. The acceptance and coexistence of the three official faiths in Albania has made interreligious harmony and tolerance a historical necessity, serving as a factor of national unity at the core of our nation's very survival and existence. And for Albanian people, the acceptance of the other is external as much as it is internal. Last week, we marked the Holocaust Remembrance Day. We Albanians take pride on the sacrifices of our grandparents and parents who, despite being under the immediate threat to death, welcomed and sheltered the persecuted Jews throughout Europe. Before the Second World War, the Jews in Albania made up a small community. But Albania became the only occupied country in Europe during the war that saw an increase of its Jewish population by 10 times. Our first constitution, if I may say so, dating back to the Middle Ages, starts with the phrase, "The house of the Albanian belongs to God and to guests." Today, our hospitality has been extended to people from Afghanistan and from Ukraine who have had to leave their homes, and our doors are open to everyone in need. Religious coexistence constitutes one of the most important achievements in the political and intellectual life in Albania in more than 1 century of existence of the Albanian state. Suppressed during the communist regime and restored only in the early 90s, religious institutions in Albania have shown a great sense of community and mutual respect. Indeed, Albania managed to undergo a rapid reconstruction of religious infrastructure and the revival of spiritual leadership after the fall of the dictatorship, while at the same time avoiding political mobilization along religious lines. Albania's political leaders have refrained from manipulating faith for political purposes, unlike in some other countries where conflicts or power struggles have assumed pseudo-religious features. Rebuilding the post-communist state has demanded cooperation between all communities, creating a foundation of interreligious cooperation. Ever since, Albania has experienced a level of cultural cohesion that has contributed to the stability, security, and overall prosperity of the country. As our country tries to modernize and consolidate the democracy, this continued dialogue is essential to create a sense of shared ownership and responsibility for Albania's future. Religious leaders believe that combined efforts to maintain and promote religious harmony will provide an important cultural anchor for Albania's continued modernization. Albania is a secular state without an official religion and with a pluralistic religious landscape. Freedom of religion is guaranteed by the Constitution. A sound legal framework guarantees freedom of religion for all in all its dimensions. The state is neutral on matters of faith and conscience, guarantees the freedom of expression in public life, and recognizes the equality of religious communities. The state and the religious communities mutually respect each other's independence and cooperate to the benefit of each and everyone. Illustration of religious tolerance that we could refer such as mixed religious marriages, the celebration of religious festivals of other groups, and the century-long peaceful coexistence of Albanians of different religious backgrounds, and the lack of religious conflict are good examples that we are proud of. The Albanian people are to be taken as an example. All religious communities maintain a relationship of mutual respect and human cooperation. The art of dialogue and listening must be learned, even when it seems impossible. I wish that Albania becomes more and more the homeland of ecumenism and interreligious dialogue. These are the words that Pope John Paul II emphasized during his visit to Albania in 1993. This climate of coexistence between religious communities in Albania prompted Pope Francis to choose Albania for his first European visit in 2014. From Tirana, he addressed the whole world, saying, "What is happening in Albania shows that peaceful and fruitful coexistence between people and communities with different religious affiliations is not only desired, but possible and real." This is something of value that must be protected and nurtured every day, ensuring an education that respects differences and particular identities, so that dialogue and cooperation for the benefit of all is promoted and strengthened. It's a gift that we must ask God in prayers. Nowadays, for Albanians, it is important not only to speak about interreligious coexistence, not only to appreciate and revere it as a stone monument, but also to strive to preserve it, to cultivate it, to cherish it, and importantly, to share it. The spaces for this are really immeasurable. We understand that the reality and destiny, not only for us, Albanians, but for the whole world, is a variety of beliefs and convictions. So, this is how interfaith coexistence and harmony between Albanians has continued for centuries, and today it has reached us through many challenges as a great national value of a small nation. The general situation of religious tolerance in Albania has remained solid because religious leaders have called upon believers to abstain from conflict and have called for mutual understanding and dialogue. According to a study, Religious Tolerance in Albania, conducted in 2018 from Institute of Democracy and Mediation in Albania, supported from UNDP, I will quote, "The foundations of religious tolerance in Albania are deeply rooted in the social traditions and culture rather than from religious awareness, knowledge, or practice. While recognizing the role of religious leaders in promoting religious tolerance at the present, as well as throughout history, Albanians attach significant importance to the legal and practical separation between the state and religion, respect for human rights and freedom, secularism as a trait of the society, and national feelings as key factors that enable religious tolerance. As a fundamental value of Albanian society, religious tolerance represents a unifying element for citizens from diverse religious backgrounds in the country. Now, all of these things run deep in the fabric of our societies and its developments, thus inevitably contributing to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, to the social cohesion, peace, equality, non-discrimination, and sustainability. At the SDG core sits the pledge to leave no one behind. Leaving anyone behind who is experiencing inequality or discrimination because of their religion or belief, it makes impossible the achievement of sustainable development goals for all of us. Policymakers, politicians, academia should understand the religious dynamics and the role of faith, communities, actors as crucial for sustainable development. I believe, but also have learned from my own experience that faith actors should be involved in addressing different social issues and should not be considered only as religious voices, but as development partners like all others. And finally, it's a particular pleasure for me to be able to close the week with such a pleasant group of people and with such a pleasant topic. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your very enlightened statement. I can only confirm that during my stay, also I realized that Albania is a replication of Jerusalem, where all three religions are living together. Our next speaker is Professor Dr. Paul Sulener. Professor has a long academic career at various universities in Germany and Austria, and was teaching pastoral theology and sociology. Has the honor to be the chair of the Faculty of Pastorology Theology, the oldest in the world, founded in 1774, as well as he was his dean for 10 years. He also served as the theological advisor of the chairman at the Council of the Congress of the European Bishops' Conferences. Professor Sulener is highly decorated with several awards, including the Kunchak, Renner, and Initzer prizes. Professor Sulener, floor is yours.
Esteemed audience, presidency, dear colleagues, thank you very much for the speeches before, and ladies and gentlemen. I have a hidden title for my intervention, and this is Religion's Hope for a Tumbling World. And this is more a question than a statement. Can religions together in harmony, as we heard, be a source for hope in this concrete world in which we are living now? I will start with a quotation from the Beatles. All you need is love. They sang it 1967. All you need is love. And I will add an experience I made just now, this morning, few hours ago. I had a seminar with students, some from the St. Tikhon University in Moscow, others from the Greek Catholic University in Lemberg, and we were together. And they all are studying theology. They want to become experts about God and the world, and how is the relation, and how religion works in this world. This is their goal, why they are studying. And they belong to very different Christian churches. Of course, the Moscovian, but not all. One is Catholic, the others are Russian Orthodox. The students from Lemberg, one is Greek Catholic, the other is Russian Orthodox. You see what a variety. And at the beginning, I told them, now, today, we will try to be an island of peace in midst of the war, the bloody war in the Ukraine. Let us try to be an island of peace. And then one student said, well, as a Christian, I try to love, but I'm feeling nowadays that my heart, which was full of love until now, is now filled with hatred. And I can't help myself. And this is, I think, the real situation in which we are speaking about. Can religion be a hope within such a tumbling world? And it's a main question for all of us. And I'm very happy that you have invited me to have a statement here, because I'm, with my friends, are very interested in this question. All you need is love. Perhaps love is a good interpretation for this term harmony, a more theological term, but it is available in all religions. All you need is love. But now I say, not just any love. When I hear my students from Moscow and from Lemberg, they say it must be a love combined with peace. And then not any peace, but this peace must be interwoven with justice. They are looking for a just peace. And all together know that justice and peace and love are not available in this world nowadays without respect for the nature. So we have a very concrete term, what could be love, and for what we are as religions standing. All these three terms, peace, justice, and respect for the nature, are today endangered because we are living in a tumbling world. This phrase was coined by Peter McCormick. He's a Jesuit from America. He's teaching international philosophy now in Paris, in the Institut Catholique. And there was a meeting exactly on the day when the war began in Lemberg, in the Greek Catholic University. He was the first speaker, and he started his speech, "We are living in a tumbling world." The world is tumbling due to the mega challenges stressing it. There are barbaric wars all over the world, not only in the Ukraine. The sensitive climate system has reached many tipping points. For example, polar caps, the Gulf Stream, deforestation, global warming, you know all this, what is happening now. And it was already said that more than 100 million people have driven to flee. We are living in a tumbling world. All these mega challenges, which are deeply interwoven, so the crisis is very complex now in the world, they all affect our populations emotionally. More and more people are losing hope nowadays. Fear grows. And as science knows very exactly now, fear desolidarizes and creates an inhuman counterculture of growing rivalry. Moreover, some political populists and even religious fundamentalists use fear, lies, and greed to widen the gap between nations, cultures, and religions, fuel hatred and violence, spread national egoism and xenophobia. But there is also an counter-development, and we here together are a very good example for it. Because more and more people of goodwill are looking for forces to help them face with courage the fear and the challenges. In this situation of the tumbling world after the February 2022, encouraged a team, to it belongs Thomas Hallig, philosopher and sociologist from Prague, Annette Schavan, former German Minister for Education, and myself, to formulate an ecumenical and international appeal. In the meantime, it has been signed by politicians, religious leaders, scientists, and artists from all over the world. And if you want, you can support it, either with your signature. I will, in the next few minutes, propose 3 main messages of this appeal. Number 1, religions as sources of hope. For millions of people, the world religions were and are not the only one, but a deep source of hope and strength to overcome fear, egoism, and resignation. And religions are an inspiration for a life in universal solidarity. This experience enabled the director of the Millennium Institute in Arlington, Gerald O'Barney, who organized the report Global 2000 for the American president, to write a letter to the religious leaders already in 1993. I quote it: "We, the people of Earth, need the help and involvement of our spiritual leaders." Don't forget, Gerald O'Barney is a scientist, yeah? Not a theologian or something like this. We, the people of Earth, need the help and involvement of our spiritual leaders. It is from our respective faiths that we derive our sense of origins, of self, of purpose, of possibility. You are our source of inspiration for what we humans and Earth can become. Your dreams are our visions and our destiny. We depend on you. So we come to you both with our perplexed sense that something is terribly wrong on Earth, and with the question, what shall we do? It's not old or overgone, this text. Very actual. We, the initiative of the appeal, are convinced that great longing for a united humanity in justice and peace, for which religion stands and works, has not lost any of its strength and is motivating more and more people, especially in our times of fear. I hope this was encouragement enough for you all together. My second point: religions are often part of the problem, not of the solution. It's not new, because some of you have already spoken about it. In Albania, you, Ambassador, have spoken about it. I enjoyed it very much, what you told us. It's a very good, positive example. At the same time, when the world is tumbling, the religious communities are in a difficult situation at this time, exactly when the religions are so urgently needed. Even many believers painfully admit that religions are often part of the problem, not part of the solution. This happens when religions serve as legitimation of violence, greed, and lies. The appeal gives some examples. In the name of God, after the Reformation, Christianity in Europe made the bloody 30-year war. The same temptation we can find nowadays in parts of Islam or in the Russian Orthodox Church. The consequence is clear. To enable religions to give hope to the tumbling world, they all need renewal. I quote the appeal. Nevertheless, there are strong forces in the religions of the world that reject and want to overcome this tragic connection of God and violence. In their political commitment to the world, the religions should orientate themselves towards their prophetic sources and not towards the interests of the powerful. I repeat this sentence because it's very important. The religions should orientate themselves towards their prophetic sources and not towards the interests of the powerful. Also, it is necessary to improve the relations between the world religions themselves. I quote further, if religious communities are to be instruments of reconciliation and peace, they themselves must overcome all manifestations of mutual rivalry and strive for a culture of mutual recognition and respect. And this is already my last and short point, not the death throes, but the birth pangs. Pope Francis is very concerned that religions and all people of goodwill work together for the common good of the world. In the document of the Fraternity of All Human Beings for Peaceful Coexistence in the World, he recalls together with the Grand Imam Ahmad al-Tayyib that God has created all human beings equal in rights, duties, and dignity, and has called them to live together as brothers and sisters. Religions, therefore, foment the hope that the current challenges of the tumbling world are not the death throes of Earth and humanity, but the birth pangs of a world where nations live in justice, peace, and in harmony with nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Sulener. You confronted us with a lot of questions which need to be really thoroughly discussed. Our next speaker is Professor Dr. Elmar Kur, my friend. He studied in Munich, Buenos Aires, Vienna, and Salzburg, and specialized on religious studies. He's a professor of religious studies and head of the Department of Theology and Religious Study at the Johann Henrik Pestalozzi Christian University, USA, for more than 20 years. He's a founding member of the European Academy of Religion and is the Secretary General of Christian in Need. He's the president of Coalition of Faith-Based Organizations Central European Chapter since 2021. Professor Elmar Kuhn, floor is yours.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends. It's a cold day today, no? Very windy, and it will be rainy. I've been last week in Egypt, visiting our projects of Christian in Need, which means Christians are helping in need to all. And I've seen a wonderful country full of sun, full of sand, and with very warm temperatures. I would like to bring something of this warmness to you. But I've also seen a country dealing with hunger, of people dying of hunger, of people losing all hope, of riots because of hunger, and of people thinking about suicide because of the hunger of their family. But there's only one reason, which is the war in Ukraine. Because the grain of Ukraine is no longer and not sufficiently coming to Egypt and to other countries in Africa. That's a global catastrophe. It's not only a war between Christians and Christians in Ukraine, it's a war against people in whole Africa and about the fundament of our Christian and ethical behavior as humans. So what to do? It's a gift for me to be here with you in this moment after 3 pandemic years, because it's not longer watching you on a TV screen, where I know you can put on the tap and you are gone. It's difficult to live here now. But there is happening something in these 3 years with Zoom events, that we lost the face of the other. And today I see again your faces, I look into your eyes, and I see into your heart. And that's so essential, because only this gives us the power to understand that we are humans and we are condemned to work together, otherwise we won't be any longer. And I'm very happy that we can be here and we can meet together and we can talk together. And that's what Director Lemanieux taught us at the beginning. We need signs of hope. This event here is such a sign of hope. Why religions and cultures matter in dialogue. Cultures and religions are integrated factors. One conditions the other. If you look at history, there has been no society without a relationship towards a religion, or at least an ideology. World religions, unlike religions that are bound to only one culture and society, are able to integrate themselves into different cultures. History shows us that the cultural behavior of world religions can change, while the central values remain unchanged. And the regional adaptations of the respective religions connect with each other despite different cultural manifestations. Examples are Christianity during the Conquista in Latin America and until today, or the Islam in Bosnia, or with a totally other and different faith in African countries. Therein lies the strength of world religions, in contrast to purely territorial or national religions which fail when the culture surrounding them is changing. World religions are thus able to influence other cultures in global contexts and also to readapt themselves in cultural environments. The coalition of faith-based organizations in Central Europe, based in Vienna, seeks to connect world religions, most of which are represented in Vienna, and brings them into a fruitful, spiritual, and value-based context. After the expulsion of Kaisit from Austria, our coalition tries to fill the gap and to continue the so important interfaith work for peace and social development. in this context, connecting with global organizations is essential for our success and essential for a successful interfaith dialogue. Because religions are essential partners in the development of cultures, and in a globalized world, even world religions never stand alone in cultural contexts, independently and unquestioned. That's a great chance. That's a great chance to develop better interfaith cooperations. When living together in a society, religions are challenged to find the red line of their common spirituality and eternal values. As religions, they can interact with cultures and nations and can bring their spiritual and peace-orientated actions to cultural development. Yes, religions are often part of the problem. But I believe that in the deepest sources, and it is hard, religions and religious people are part of the solution. But we have to test this. On the contrary, interreligious disharmony could lead to rejection of religious concepts by most of a society. Thus, in our globalized world, if religions are rejected by the majority of our society, this leads also to a failed society as a whole. Because let us remember and recall the Böckenförde dilemma. The liberal secular state lives on preconditions that it cannot guarantee itself. Religious values then cannot be something that a state or a group establishes by decree or by a majority vote. That would be the dictatorship of a mind out of human hubris. Every new power could then change this in its own sense. So, religions and their shared eternal values, for example, let's think in the Golden Rule, are the only sustainable precondition for a society which are strong enough to guarantee fundamental human rights and their values to the whole society and to different cultures. For interreligious dialogue, this means celebrating not the differences, but the similarities. If interfaith dialogue can do this, it makes religions a natural partner for the United Nations SDGs. If I would have to name the global goals that best fit interfaith collaboration and competence, I would suggest the SDG number 1, zero poverty. But in a religious context, that could also mean to combat discrimination that leads to poverty, as I've seen in so many countries. SDG 2, zero hunger. That's what I've experienced now in Egypt. Zero hunger means ending the persecution of faith that leads to displacement from the homeland, preventing human resources for the development of nations. Or the SDG number 3, good health. That's essential for education, which is not possible when you are sick or when you have an empty stomach. SDG number 4, quality education. The lesson from the religious fanaticism that led to violence and war is to teach tolerance and the value of every life. The Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality. It's so important to focus on education for girls and young women. They are the future for every society. And by SDG number 10, reducing inequality. It's so important because religions can be a valuable support in ending social and cultural discrimination. By working on these SDGs, religions can collectively help influence cultural, social, and political spheres with the values of spiritual strength and peaceful cooperation. That's a contribution to the stabilization of cultures and societies. However, religions are only credible in a globalized society if they seek a common denominator with the central values of their faith. This requires cooperation and interreligious harmony. The United Nations and its SDGs are the perfect partner for religions to develop a path to peaceful coexistence in our world. I believe that religions are ready to take responsibility for. And let me allow to end, and that's the last minute, let me allow to end with an invitation. Next Wednesday, February 8th at 6 p.m. at St. Stephen's Place, number 3, the Coalition of Faith-Based Organizations invites you to a peace conversation, sorry, it's only in German language, on Christian perspectives for peace in Ukraine, Kosovo, and Nagorno-Karabakh, in the Central European countries where war is rising up. This will be a first discussion in which we focus on Christian perspective for peace solutions. It will be followed by a symposium in which Muslims, Jews, and Buddhists will also participate, so that step by step we can co-create a vision of peace for Central Europe with the intense contribution of the religions. That's the sign of hope which I can bring to this assembly. And I'm sure, together, this assembly will arise as a sign of hope for our world, because all big roads start with a first step. So let's do it.
Thank you very much, Professor Elmer. Our last speaker need no introduction. He's the man who brings us hope, love, and peace, all what we need. This is Dr. Katsumi Otsuka. He's the co-chairperson of Universal Peace Federation for Europe and Middle East, a man of peace and reconciliation who traveled around the world to serve the humanity by educating peace and understanding among the people of different faith, ethnicity, color, and nationality. A real messenger of peace and love. Dr. Katsumi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much for introducing me so nicely. I was so surprised at that. I deeply appreciate, first of all, to all co-organizers for your great investment in having Interfaith Harmony event in this beautiful venue, Vienna International Center. Let me also salute to co-organizers' tireless peace-building work. We, UPF, also gives respect to the UN efforts for achieving the SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals. You may feel it a little bit strange hearing the introduction about myself, that a Japanese is taking a role of the chairman of the UPF, Europe and the Middle East, covering 72 countries. UPF has been managing the global exchange of the leadership and the staff beyond borders. Please understand that myself shows the universal or global character of the Universal Peace Federation. Our name is Universal Peace Federation. As you know, the modern Olympics was conceived by Baron-Pierre de Coubertin, on whose initiative the International Olympic Committee created itself in June 1894. He also created the Olympic flags with 6 colors, which symbolize the unity of all continents and people. The 1920 Olympic Games, held in the city of Antwerp, Belgium, was organized under the tremendous difficulty caused by the First World War and the global pandemic of influenza, which is said to have killed about 45 million people of the world. It is well known that these Olympic Games greatly encouraged European people for the post-war and post-pandemic reconciliation. The atmosphere of the unity and harmony Olympic Games brought in gave big hope for the people of Europe. History repeats itself. The 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, held 100 years later, were also organized under the global challenge of the corona pandemic. The pandemic, however, ironically gave us an opportunity to work together beyond religious and cultural differences. Since virus cannot see the ethnic and the religious differences, the international joint measures are needed to be implemented for the health of the peace of all people in the world. I think that it is a time to receive the spirit, to revive the spirit of the modern Olympism, unity and harmony. Let us speak a little bit about the UPF. The creation of the UPF can be sought back in the 20th century, the century of war and the revolution. Our founders, Dr. and Mrs. Moon, were born in what is now North Korea. They experienced the Japanese 36 years rule, the Second World War, and the Korean War, and the Cold War. They were literally refugees during the Korean War, and they could not see their relatives in North Korea even today freely. I'm sure that these experiences gave decisive influence to them. The destruction by force, which they physically experienced in Korean War, motivated them to pursue peace by dialogue. Dr. Moon also greatly encouraged the people of faith in realizing the universal peace. According to the founders, religion or the people of faith, their role in universal peace building is most essential and important because religious sentiment is deeply rooted in human nature. UPF believes that the more attention should be paid to internal and external interactive functioning for peace building, because the external and the political method alone cannot solve any problems. The spirituality or faith-based approach must be taken for better solutions. This is why Dr. and Mrs. Moon proposed the creation of the upper house of the UN, so-called Interreligious Council within the UN, in the year 2000. Accordingly, UPF advocates renewal of the UN by installing the Interreligious Council. UPF implements its programs through the global network of the Ambassador for Peace. In this regard, there is no doubt that the interfaith work, which gives the highest respect to the human dignity, will be the main pillar for harmony and unity. Allow me to share a bit about my friend. This is a very small testimony, but very impressive experience to me. A Muslim friend of mine dedicated the mosque in my province of Japan, where there is no Muslims, about 10 years ago. He raised the money funding by himself and built it for all Muslims in neighbors, and even for the local residents. In building it, he had repeated dialogues with local people and gained their support and respect. The opening of the mosque was even broadcasted on local TV. This was very striking and very impressive indeed. I learned a lot from his experience. It is very impressive that my friend, Pakistani Muslim, always gives careful concern to the spirituality of the people and does not hesitate to have dialogue with any people, improving his faith and business. I want to close my greetings here by quoting my favorite words by John Lennon, a member of the Beatles. Of course, we need the love, All we need is a laugh. But at the same time, these words impressed me very much. John Lennon, John Lennon spoke in public. A dream you dream alone is only a dream. A dream you dream together is reality. Let's have a same dream together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Kotsumi. We are running out of the time. It's 3:30. So we have no time for question and answer, unfortunately, but we're looking forward for the next session. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to all my colleagues, speakers. Thank you very much. And the big credit goes to all of you for your patience, and I hope by the time when you are leaving, we might be able to get something out of this conference. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind patience.